Welcome to So Much to Talk About here at Big East Media Day. My pleasure to have one of the best analysts in all sports, not just college basketball, Mr. Bill Raftery, ESPN and CBS Sports.
Wow,
Pleasure.
I thought you were a bright young man. After that comment, I'm starting to worry about you. Well, thanks for the compliment. I'll take any at my age.
Much deserved, much deserved. And I wanted to... Oh, okay. Well, anyway, I wanted to ask you about first question. Yeah, exactly. But
like Michael Jordan. He's the only one who didn't get away with that. I was on a show with Ahmad Rashad, and the phone went off. It was NBA studio, and he picked it up. It was Michael Jordan. That was impressive. I mean, this one will probably be my wife telling me to pick up some groceries. So I'll let that one go.
Have you ever seen anything like this with the amount of depth in one conference in one season?
You know, not with 16 teams. I mean, I was talking to somebody, and let's just assume, and this is not fact, Providence is the 8th best team. And they've got 8 kids returning and Curry back, who can really help them in the backcourt off his injury last year. There won't be any evenings off, and I think that is testimony to what you're saying. The strength and the preseason prognosticators are suggesting that, you know, was it 6 of them in the top 22? So, you know, then you just know that you play somebody real good on Wednesday. How are you going to bounce back Saturday if your kids might be down, if it's a tough loss? And so you really have to isolate, almost like golf, shot by shot. Like, you can't get offended or turned off or down because you're going to get knocked out again. If you let one game impact you that cost you another, you're going to have a tough season. And I think this is where the couch becomes the most important player for coaches. You know, like, let's sit down here and discuss the real story about life, you know. And I think there's going to be a lot more of that, look, hey, it's a loss. We played well. They're good. We didn't perform, maybe didn't make some free throws, didn't come up with a loose ball. Let's go. We got so-and-so on. We're over at Seton Hall. They got some, I know he's had some trouble, don't have the depth, but they're good. You better be ready, where that game's going to cost you another game. And I think that's the way coaches are going to have to approach this year.
I want to ask you about any under-the-radar players that general sports fans don't know about from the Big East, because we know about like Harangody and Tabid and Clark and Flynn, all those guys. But which under-the-radar players impress you?
Yeah, you know, the hard part for me is the new kids. You know, I was down at Georgetown the other night. Monroe, they ran up and down. Greg Monroe is one of the new players that everybody's going to be talking about. You know, I couldn't tell. I've seen a few minutes on All-Star games and all. Ebanks, they say, is a terrific performer at West Virginia. But, you know, it sort of sorts itself out. So they're expecting great things out of him at Louisville. But you know, it's usually the kids that have been around that become very important, you know. Clark at Louisville, to me, could have one of the unbelievable breakout years. This kid is extremely talented. And not that Rick has kept him under wraps. He's tried to develop the total game for him and take away some of the looseness. Because, as you know, when a kid is really talented, he can get away with a lot of things. And even though it's a turnover, he thinks that's okay, or it's a mistake of judgment, that's okay. Well, that's where I think this kid is learning and is going to be. And the other guy, just sticking with that team, is Edgar Sosa. How he develops with that point guard mentality. You know, is he less prone to make a bad judgment? You know, those are a couple of names, but that's where I think you lean on those guys, even though you have a young kid coming in. You can't expect him, you know, Beasley did it, but he also had some pretty good players around him. You know, he got Kansas State, turned that thing around. So it does take others. You know, Rose is another guy. He had some other pretty good people around him, and we lose focus of that.
Point. And I wanted to ask you just about the college game in general. How important was it for the NBA to set that mandate of 1 year, at least 1 year? Overall, it's built some star power for the college game.
Yeah, you know, there's a couple of ways of looking at it. It markets a player if he does leave. For the NBA people, the fans, to say, yo, this kid had a great college career. I can't wait to see him. But to me, I would rather 2 years so that more kids that aren't of that level would find out they're not that good, get closer to a degree, or a couple of kids who know, right, you know, I'm not going to be an NBA player for a while. I'm going to get my degree. And I think that 2 years does one thing most importantly. At the end of 2 years, if you decide to leave, you only have 2 years left if anything bad happens to you. You know, whether you're cut, an injury, some godforsaken thing does happen to you. But I don't know if that'll ever happen because you've got the Players Association in the NBA that are an integral part in any decision making regarding that type of thing. But that's what I would have liked. But at least it's something. You know, even if one kid says, you know what, I'm not good enough, I'm coming back. I think it's worth it because then he finds out how much he can improve if he is of that NBA level, or I'm closer to a degree. Because as we all know, kids fall through the cracks, and we don't talk about them, we don't write about them, but they're part of a basketball negative that it doesn't enhance the image of what college basketball is all about.
Decisions by, I mean, these guys were ready to be first-round picks, but James Harden and Chase Budinger over Arizona State and Arizona, they stayed.
And having watched both of them, it's a good basketball decision, but it also helps them move forward as well if they end up, deciding like 3 years, 4 years, whatever. Ultimately, they're that much closer to a degree, and so they protected themselves on both ends.